What is up? Welcome to the NBA Rundown, brought to you courtesy of Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets. I'm your host, Spread Astaire, joined today by Travis Mangone and Tyler Hicks. Tyler, we got to start with you today because, quite the night last night, and we want to hear your winner's acceptance speech after the great performance you had last evening with these picks.
Yeah, I mean, Milwaukee was bound to bounce back. They were given a bad defense. They beat up on them. What was our other one? I mean, the ones I lost too spread. Even OKC, they fought till the end, and then they finally gave up in the end.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what were some of the other matchups from last night we had? I got that one wrong. That was the one you could take the victory lap on because I took Indy there.
Wait, we had the T-Wolves the same. Do we both have the Heat?
No, I had the Heat. You had the Wolves.
I took the Heat on that one. So we weren't
there.
different on that one. Oh, the Raptors and the Nets.
And you were backing those Spurs, and I was telling you they have no paint protection, and y'all went and put their center on a T-shirt last night and put up 52.
So, all right, Travis, thank you for joining us. Usually we go straight to the guests, but Tyler and I
the
were
last one spread.
So many. Yeah.
The only one we forgot is you took those points with the Nets, and that offense died at the hands of the Raptors.
Oh, it was absolutely terrible. Just what a terrible performance. So, Travis, I had to let Tyler get his victory lap out of the way, but we have plenty of revenge on the slate today. How are you feeling?
Yeah, you know me. I'm all for a victory lap spread. We can do that here. I would never interrupt a good victory lap unless it's like dunking on me, right? You know, then I'm gonna have to back up or take my L. I don't know what I'll have to do, but I like a good victory lap. And I was trying to think of the last time I was on the show. Tyler, was it? And this is maybe a victory lap. Was this the Magic money line? Was that the last time we were on a show together, or am I wrong on that, Tyler?
It might have been. I can't remember. I think we might have did one more Tuesday
I'll look it up now because I am curious because I was thinking about it. You know, we had the NBA All-Star break, right? We talked about some trade deadline stuff before that. I think that was the time. So I looked at Magic.
The last time we were on the show, I think you were victory lapping the Rams money line combined with like 14 NBA and UFC and like I even think you threw like a bowling or a golf winner in there.
You're right. That was Super Bowl. Yeah, because it's been the schedule's weird now with the Super Bowl being later. But it's definitely been a while since we've been on. Excited to talk about things. And we are getting to the home stretch. I believe we're like 75% maybe of the way through the season where, hey, this last 25% of basketball, for one, a lot of this basketball you're going to see is not like real basketball. Like when we get into the playoffs, don't buy into some of these teams that are like surging. Like sometimes it's just like, it's all just fake. Like then the playoffs come and then we get some good basketball. We love watching that stuff. It's like every single night there's good games. It's like 3 or 4 game DFS slates and it's really fun to watch. So I'm definitely excited to break it down with you guys. And we got a nice little card over the next week. So, we got like 5 to 8 games. It feels like every day, not overwhelmed with 13 game slates. So I'm excited to break it down.
Yeah. And I think it's great. And I think there are some games that we can take some stuff from. And one example, I know they're not at full strength, right? But the Heat and the Bulls, that was essentially a battle for first place last night because the Bulls would have moved into a tie game, right? Raptors and Nets are right next to each other, 7th and 8th, right? So we do have some potential previews here, and I can't wait to start breaking these down. But let's move into tonight. So I got the tennis lines up. Let me go back and get these NBA lines going. All right, it didn't log me out. Thank God for that. The first game we have on the slate, and I'll be honest, I didn't spend too much time on this one. Hopefully some of you guys did. And I'm talking about the Detroit Pistons, who are going to be in Washington taking on the Wizards. Wizards laying 3.5 to Detroit. Total of 215.5. Pretty low for a Wizards game, but with the way that things have changed, not too surprising. Pretty interesting matchup here if you're an NBA diehard, but otherwise, right? Both these teams on their way to the lottery. And when Travis was earlier talking about, hey, don't take some of these games seriously. It's because they will be wins against teams like these Wizards and these Pistons. Both teams pretty much know that they're out of it for the year. Kyle Kuzma's been playing excellently for the Wizards, taking advantage of his opportunities. So you got to give him credit there. Cade Cunningham's been great for the Pistons as well. Still a couple years away, it seems like this team is, and they should both be drafting in the lottery this year. Let's see if Detroit can get some more lottery luck. Kristaps Porzingis still out. Nothing else really stands out to me. Marvin Bagley doubtful. I mean, that just is ingrained to me in my mind as a Kings fan. Tyler, let's start with you. How are you approaching the Pistons and the Wizards?
Yeah, I mean, ugly matchup here. I think the total's a bit low, though. I think Washington's not going to play much defense. Detroit's offense has looked better outside since they've come out of the All-Star break. So I think they could put up a nice number here. It worries me that Diallo is questionable. because he's been coming off the bench and putting up some points for them.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Washington's just been so bad. Who do we say is the best player on the floor tonight? Kuzma? Like, is it Kuzma? Is it Grant? Is it Cade? So it's like, I'd say
we throw potential in there. So when we watch, it feels like Cade, but I'd say as of right now, if you're going to like play a game,
it would probably be Kuzma. But it's like after that, Detroit probably has 2, 3, 4, and maybe even 5. Yeah. Their guards aren't going to be able to guard Cade at all tonight. Kisper, KCP, Neto. He should feast tonight.
Well, they're not going to. They won't. They'll put Hashimura and Denny against him. Do you think she'll put some size against him?
I mean, how many of those big guys are you going to put on the floor and pull guards off? You know what I mean? Those guys, you're going to put a Neto on Bay and let him eat them up. So it's like.
Probably, though, right? I'd rather have Neto on Bay than let Cade work against those guys. They're too small. Cade's too using.
They're going to have to run a different lineup than they've been running then, because then it's going to leave Kispert to guard one of them. So,
yeah.
I mean, whoever draws that matchup is going to have a good spot. I think it's going to be Cade. And even if he draws one of the other guys, I think he cooks them. So over 17.5 points, I think they pick up the win here too. The 20+ and win at about plus 400. I'll be taking a shot on.
All right, love it. And Andrew Melville, I think he got a sneak peek at the script here, Travis. He says, love when Mangone is on the show. He keeps those energetic vibes. But here's the script. It's we the people that had it. He says, the KCP revenge game for Travis. How are you approaching the KCP revenge game and the Pistons and the Wizards?
Yes, the good old KCP revenge game. Man, so he's KCP, like, this is like just like simple like DFS principles. Like, if he's chalk, you probably want to be off. If he's not, hey, maybe he could get the job done, especially against the Pistons, a team that they give a lot of fantasy points, which, like, KCP is a guy that he's going to get buckets or not get buckets. It's just very simple. He doesn't get it through the peripherals as much. That's really how he gets it done. Pistons are a team that, like, sometimes I write off a little bit attacking them just because I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen with this game. It could blow out. And, like, this is a game where I expect it to be kind of competitive. The Pistons have been playing a little bit better basketball as well. So I think this game is going to be a close one. The question is, what do you do with Kyle Kuzma? I mean, the guy has dropped 60 or more fantasy points the last 2 games. One against the Spurs, another against a team where you see the Cleveland Cavaliers. And you're like, how did Kyle Kuzma do it against that team? It's just, this is a team that he can easily take advantage of. If I do play Wizards, for the most part, I feel like I want to have like maybe like a Pistons guy ran back. And this is a spot where I think some of these Pistons guys can make some sense. I mean, Saddiq Bey is a guy that if you do play him at 6'6", he's very volatile. You have to prepare that if it's going really badly, then yeah, it's going to be like an 8 fantasy point game because he's very reliant on that 3-pointer. If the shot is falling, then that means the Pistons are likely in the game. And then you probably want like a Washington Wizards run back. So I think that's really important to mention with a guy like him. Jeremy Grant, he's not at a bag tag at 6.3K, but I just don't know if I'll be going there today on this slate. I would say, hey, Isaiah Stewart at 5K, not the worst because Wizards have been really bad against centers, but Daniel Gafford at 3.6, that's a guy I'm way more interested in right now. And I always talk about it. Center is a tough position because, like, Gafford's currently the best value on the slate. At this time, the best play. I would probably have him on a lot of my teams at this point. He's definitely going to be a chalkier option, and there's ways to be different by fading him. But I think that Gafford is a really good play, and he's a good chalk option right now. So that's going to make it harder for me to get a guy like Isaiah Stewart on my team. And it ruins flexibility for my full lineup because if I put in Gafford and I put in Stewart, well, my utility's messed up where I can't have as much flexibility moving around my lineup. So I don't see myself going to Isaiah Stewart for some of those reasons. I don't think the spot is bad, but just not for me here on this slate. I should talk about Cade Cunningham's price on FanDuel. It is only 7K where he's 7.5 over on DK. I know his positionality has moved around, and small forward sometimes is not the greatest position. Small forward eligibility over shooting guard could be worth it. Depends on the slate. I'm still kind of diving in a little early on it, but that's something I've noticed recently that's been very valuable to Cade Cunningham is having that forward eligibility because there's more spots to put him into, and this is a Wizards team that you can easily attack. So I do think that Cade Cunningham is in play, but the one guy I mentioned who I think is going to be a value that people are looking to go to is if Marvin Bagley's out, then Kelly Olynyk is going to be in play because his usage off the bench is really strong. He's going to be able to secure those minutes, which we haven't been getting him to have many minutes lately because of Marvin Bagley. And just, it seems like Dwayne Casey does not want to play him, but he might be forced to actually play here. And at 4.9K, he seems like a really intriguing option and probably the most intriguing option from a value perspective on that Pistons side. So my like current favorites right now are Kelly Olynyk and Daniel Gafford on each side. And then from there, it's like, I think some of these guys are interesting options, but they're not guys I'm prioritizing throughout my lineups.
Yeah, and Travis, a lot of fun actually breaking this down with you early. This injury report hasn't been as volatile I would say, since the All-Star break. And like you said, 75% of the season complete. Most of these teams know where they stand, right? If they're going to sit these guys, they're going to start dialing them out for the season. So we're not going to get them pulled out of the lineup late. And I think these guys also are going to go, right? A matchup like the Bulls and the Heat last night meant a lot to both teams. So the guys are going to get out there if they can, which I think really makes it fun for this show. And I'm really looking forward to the last 25% of the season, because I think we're going to be able to give out more actionable information like the breakdown you just gave. Remember that breakdown?
One more thing.
Go ahead.
This is you kind of talking about it made me think about it. And sorry for interrupting, but I just think it's so important. Looking at the injury report today, I'll just go through it right now. Cam Thomas is questionable. Andre Drummond questionable. We saw him hurt his knee during the game. OG Anunoby questionable. Fred VanVleet, he's questionable. Ant Edwards questionable. Vanderbilt questionable. Those were like downgrades during the day. You got Ant Edwards questionable. Vanderbilt questionable. Bielitsa, who's questionable. Porter questionable. Garrison Matthews questionable. Then you got LeBron questionable later, which I think he plays, but you just never know. And ultimately what I'm getting at is this game has some interesting value options. My favorite is Gafford, but I think plugging into some of these earlier guys could be a really big mistake based on there being so many pieces of news that could fall your way and shake up the slate and change it. So if you see Pistons being jammed on the teams or some Wizards, you can just get a different construction by letting others just jam in those plays, because that's what it says at 7:00 Eastern, and just wait and see what happens. I think that's something that I think I would do a pretty good job at, and I think it's worth looking at on this slate for sure.
Yeah, I guess for me, seeing that it's me thinking it's a cleaner injury report is, first of all, these were like War and Peace style essays here in December and January, right? So it's already a lot shorter, and a lot of these I just feel like they're legitimate, like if Anthony Edwards doesn't play, he's really hurt, OG Anunoby, I'm surprised that he's questionable. He was originally supposed to be out for a week, so it kind of, I think, supports my theory that these guys are trying to play, and they're not just gonna sit out just because they jammed a finger the night before, right? Kevin Porter's kind of been dealing with issues all year, and LeBron James is questionable every night. I would be shocked if he sits out an ESPN game. I'd be shocked.
Yeah, that's what everyone else keeps saying. I guess I'm like more in the camp of like things are more gray, and it's like when just have a like we'll get to it when we talk about that game. I'll kind of mention the point. But yeah, there's definitely a better chance that he does play. I'm curious to see if we get him at the 5. And one last thing to mention about KCP. I know it's early, but he is shooting guard eligible and he's 4.4K, and he's like one of the right now, like ranking wise, I got him as like the second best value in like projections, it looks like. And like it's sometimes there's a difference between being the second best value. Like, are you the second best value when the Spurs are sitting all their guys and like you're just like a 3K flat guy? Like KCP is a 4.4K guy that's very shot dependent. Okay. And if he becomes chalky because he's currently one of the better values on the slate, that's where I get concerned. And like, I don't want to just say like he's a bad play, but I do think if he comes in at more ownership, we do need to consider getting off of him. And with him currently being what I'm looking at is the second best like value on the slate, and this value is not as great as sometimes like other ones are. Like, really like the point per dollar values whenever you're sorted on Sabre. Like, look at that value versus like when sometimes you get the 3K guy, like I said, for the Spurs, getting like 30 fantasy points at 3K. Well, then you're like at 10X. Like, it's just way different today. So far, we don't have like these amazing guys. Like yesterday, we got the Malachi Flynn, we got the Gabe Vinces. We had some really good value plays that got opened up. Even Trey Lyles on the Kings became an infinitely better value and had lower ownership. I'm waiting to see if we can get those guys rather than playing some of these earlier ones that we have. But currently, Gaffer is definitely the best one in this game.
All right, and that was a great breakdown. Travis, reminder that breakdown was brought to you by RunPureSports.com. Head on over. Use the promo code GETBETS. You'll get access to, of course, the daily fantasy information as well as the bet side. The Atlanta Hawks will be in Boston tonight. Boston now laying 6.5. This open at 5.5. Total 226.5. Not surprised Boston took money, right? They've won 11 of their last 13 games. They've looked absolutely fantastic. Travis, when you were coming on in December, we were trading away Jaylen Brown. We were blowing up the whole core, right? We were questioning the fit. And it's good to know that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum do watch the show. We lit a little fire under them there. Now they are excited to go ahead and get back and show what they can do. Like I said, they've won 11 of their last 13. They started with 3 road games coming out of the All-Star break. They went 2-1. Disappointing loss to the Pacers on Sunday, but dude, Sunday's a weird day in the NBA. Sunday, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but if I were just to guess right now and I said which day did the money line dogs win the most, in my mind it feels like it would be Sunday. Always see some wacky results. Maybe that has something to do with hey, after playing a Saturday night on the road, these guys do like to have fun, and probably not with their usual companions. Tyler, let's start with you. How are you approaching the Atlanta Hawks and the Boston Celtics?
Yeah, I mean, that line seems about right. I'm not looking to back a side here because I'm not looking to get caught with a backdoor cover on Atlanta. I think Boston wins the game, though. I mean, the last 7 trips to Boston for Atlanta, they're 1-6. So I don't see them going up there and getting a win without John Collins, who's probably not playing tonight. And you look at Boston's stats over the last 5 games, first in field goal percentage, third in three-point percentage, and then their defense is great too, second in opponent's field goal percentage. So they should be able to limit this team. Marcus Smart will be all over Trae Young, and I think he has a good game also. His props are set pretty low. His assist numbers are 5.5. You look at his recent games, he's posted 7, a lot of those. I'll take that over 5.5 on his assists. The shooting guard position against Atlanta just absolutely kills him. 24 points a game, 3 threes, 5 assists. Jaylen Brown's going to eat this team up. I like the 30+ and win on him and the 4+ threes on him and win. And, of course, you could always back Tatum in this spot, too, because he could easily catch fire and do his 30+ and win. But for the most part, I'm going to be looking to back Boston.
All right, yeah, and I actually like Atlanta here with the points. I think they just keep it close. But, hey, I said that yesterday with the Spurs, so let's see what happens tonight. Travis, how are you feeling about your favorite team, the Boston Celtics?
Yeah, I mean, I told you, I think blindly backing them right now is not bad. And I do think the number could, adjust, and get, a little too egregious. And, yeah, it's a little uncomfortable giving 6.5 to those Atlanta Hawks. I do think they're a bit of a pesky team. I like to back them up. But I kind of lean Celtics here. They're just playing such good basketball. And my lane is definitely the -6.5 on the Celtics. DFS wise, it's just they're not a friendly DFS team. They've been very healthy. They kind of remind me a little bit this year of the Suns last year, not from an actual basketball. I'm talking DFS perspective. They've been really healthy for the past 2 months, where they were a team that, yes, we all thought the Suns are a great basketball team last year. Not everyone, but we were thinking, hey, this is a team that they're playing good basketball. It's fun to watch them in competitive games. But the problem with the team like the Celtics is they're always healthy, it seems like. And they're just not a team that you can target DFS wise. I mean, yes, we've played Derek White a little bit here and there because the price wasn't great and there was a couple guys out, but just seems like a spot where I don't think I'd go to Celtics today. I think betting it is better than playing them DFS wise. Then when you look at the Atlanta Hawks, they are missing John Collins, right? He's doubtful. I'm assuming he does not play. Now, if he plays, that muddies up this situation big time. If he doesn't play, Danilo Gallinari at 4.9, good fantasy point per minute producer. If he does get the minutes, he's going to do well. There is always a concern, though. It's is it going to be Gallinari getting the run? Is it going to be DeAndre Hunter getting more of the run? Because sometimes guys just lose minutes because between Hunter, Gallinari, and Herter, sometimes they just bring Bogdanovich in instead, and he closes out. There's just opportunity for you to lose minutes on one of your guys and get the guessing game wrong. So that's something where ownership matters. If DeAndre Hunter happens to be 25% on a slate and Kevin Herter's 5%, I'm sorry, they're projected very similarly. Is he going to outscore him 5 times more? Obviously it depends. Sometimes matchups, you can make decisions based on that, but ownership is more important. There, I would just jump on Herter. I mean, that happened for me the other day. Yes, Herter didn't do great at 14.25 fantasy points, but Hunter was out for the game, and it was just a guy that was way higher owned. So those are things I look at in these spots specifically. Also, positions can matter. Hunter is only small forward eligible. Gallinari is power forward eligible. That could be very, very valuable when building out your lineups. So Herter too, he's shooting guard and small forward eligibility. And maybe that matters when you're moving your teams around. Maybe between Hunter and Herter, maybe you need a guard spot. That's just really important here where I kind of value that a little bit more when I kind of break things down. And then Trae Young at 10K, it does feel like a price tag where you could take a shot and he's not really going to be owned. It feels like on this slate, I mean, his projection's pretty decent, but it feels like people want to go up to a Luka instead. It feels like the people might go down to Pascal Siakam again. It depends if Fred VanVleet's out, right? That's going to be really important. So Trae Young is definitely in play, but I kind of want the ownership to be lower, mainly because it's against the Celtics and the matchup. I think that's going to be really important. So I do have some interest in this Hawks side. I need the John Collins news, and I think ownership is going to be a really key part in that, along with some of the other news that we're waiting on this slate, right? Because I talked about it before. This game is a 7:30 game, and what happens is we're going to have all this Brooklyn-Toronto news flying in, and it could change the slate instantly. And then also we got Ann Edwards and Vanderbilt news. That could change everything too. Maybe you go from Trae Young to D'Angelo Russell. I mean, that price difference, 10K on Trae Young, and then if Ann is out, you get, where is D. Russ's price? 7.6K. I mean, I'll take that price savings on D. Russ if Ann is out every single time there in that spot. Especially against Golden State, a little revenge game too as well. So I think this game is fine. There are some options you can go to spread, but I need a lot of the news to make the decisions on that. And that's why it's kind of taking me a while to break it all down, because I'm trying to give you the thought process leading into some of these injury situations that are going to be really important.
No, yeah, I think you did do a great breakdown. And let's talk about the game that you're speaking of, because I
Before
did
we
have.
move on, spread.
Oh, go ahead.
Travis, you got any read on Al Horford? Because he didn't play a single minute last game, and Daniel Tice took all those minutes. They have a bunch of props listed for him. Is this where we do the under on all of them, and hopefully he plays maybe 2 minutes, if that?
Who are you talking about? Tice?
Al Horford.
Oh,
Tice finally got activated and played 15 minutes last game. Horford didn't see the floor at that point. They started Grant Williams. Do we think they just plug Horford back into the starting lineup here, or no? I don't think so.
That was against Detroit, right? Was that, or what game was it?
That was against Indiana.
Okay, I didn't play this weekend. It was like the first time I've taken 2 days off in forever in NBA. So
yeah, like their rotations went, of course, their starting five, just pull Horford out, put Grant Williams in. He played 34 minutes. And then off the bench came Derek White for 22, Pritchard for 17, and Daniel Tice for 15. Everybody else like 3 minutes here and there. But Horford didn't even see the floor last game.
To be fair, the Pacers do have the weakest big men right now, probably in the league with all the injuries, right?
Yeah, the one thing
there's a team you want to go small against.
Yeah, but are the Hawks really throwing big guys out there at you? Like you
look
at who they're bringing up.
And Okongwu, you got Gallinari. I mean, it's more. I don't know.
I don't mind it. So I would need to know. Here's the thing. I would need to know what is the prop now versus what it normally is. I think that matters. And then I see that the coach said that Horford's minutes would be managed on Sunday's game. So he did come out and say that. And like, I mean, like it said, here's the quote from February 27th. Grant Williams will start for Horford today as team manages his minutes. Now, they didn't say for this game. I don't know if that's for down the stretch. I'm not really sure. And then, so here's a quote from the beat writer too. He said, Tice was the first big off the bench. Horford hasn't been ruled out, but things seem to be pointing in giving him a rest day. So I think it's something to definitely look at betting, and you could take the shot on it if you think it's like just hasn't adjusted yet, and there's a chance he doesn't play again or maybe gets less minutes because Tice played so well. It feels like there could be opportunity there to take advantage of, especially like let's say they blow him out, because Boston's been playing great basketball.
Yeah, if they blow him out, there's no chance he gets blowout minutes because he's an old guy. He's going right to the bench.
Exactly. I mean, I'm just trying to think of outs for us, and I don't think you're onto anything bad here, but I would want to know, like, if the points were 14.5, has it adjusted to 10.5? Like, did they over adjust too far the other way? I think that's really important with making that decision. Do you have any read on that?
I mean, I think his points prop was always set around 9.5. It's 8.5 now, plus money to the under. He did in his most recent games, his last 3 games, 36, 31, and 33 minutes. I'm almost positive that first game before the All-Star break, Robert Williams sat out for personal reasons. And didn't he sit out the first game back?
I'm not sure. What's the line you have on that? Because I can go back and look here. Did they play the Pacers on Saturday?
Yeah. Sunday,
okay.
Yeah, Sunday.
On Sunday. Okay, so I can go back and look real quick. So I might be able to find this number. And we're taking a while on it, but this could be like you don't get like the free money bets.
That's what I mean. I see he didn't play minutes. The backup, the guy who replaced him played good. It's like this might be save the vet for playoffs in that Philly.
The chat seems to think that he's going to play.
The line right now is 8.5 on his points.
Okay. And I'm seeing his projection the other day was around 7.5 was what it was the other day when he didn't play. And then today, let me see if I can find that, because I think you're on to something. But like, because again, even if he plays, it could be good. So today's projection is 10.5. So you said today it was 8.5?
8.5 is his points prop right now.
I wish it was a little higher. That would only be my worry. If you could price shop it and find a better one, maybe. But that's one of the concerns. And hey, it is an Al Horford revenge game. I know it's been a while.
All right. So yeah, the chat got it right. So he says Al Horford revenge. He also says don't do that for Tyler. It was a rest game. He says you shouldn't do it. Kevin Saul says it was the back-to-back for Boston. And Eberhardt said, well, Horford did play 37 the night before. So, let us know what you decide on that by the end, Tyler. Yesterday you were just against me. Today you can go against the world if you want to. Anything more on the Celtics before we move on?
Nope, that's it for me.
All right, let's jump in. The Brooklyn Nets, boy, was I wrong about this team last night. I thought they would show some fight. Be excited to be out there. They were at home. It's a 7-8 versus 8 matchup. Now with the win yesterday, Toronto is 3 games ahead of Brooklyn for the 8th seed. Obviously interesting situation, even though it's a road game. Irving cannot play because of Canada's rules. So he's not going to be out there again tonight. Boy, it's tough to see what the Nets do differently or what types of adjustments they make after last night. I'll admit I was wrong. I'd hate to flip-flop and then be wrong 2 nights in a row, but it's really tough to see. I don't see what the Nets can do differently other than not letting Scotty Barnes hit his first 11 shots en route to what 28 points and 16 rebounds. So, a little worried about Anunoby being out. Barnes definitely filled that tonight. And you talked about this injury report, Travis, and I'll go over it real quick before I throw it to you guys. Cam Thomas and Andre Drummond on the Brooklyn side. Anunoby, who was supposed to be out till like next week. So this is a midday upgrade, which usually trends in that direction. DJ Wilson, who doesn't mean a lot to me, and Van Vliet, who we kind of discussed yesterday. But the idea was we thought that it was just knee soreness and he would play one of the 2 games. Maybe seeing the resistance the Nets put up last night, they say, hey, let's give him another one off, right? We don't necessarily need him. So as of yesterday, I thought that he would play tonight. Now I'm not sure, right? Maybe they see that game and they say, you know what, let's take Malachi Flynn, get some more minutes. But I don't know, Tyler, I hate to just piggyback off your pick yesterday. What can the Nets do differently? And should they be catching 9?
I mean, I don't know what they can do differently other than pray to God that the 2 guys for Toronto that carried the offense yesterday shoot bad this game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at it, Barnes went 12 for 14, 28 points. Precious Achimwa went 20 points, 8 for 14. And Malachi Flynn, I mean, he put together a good game, 18 and 5, 7 for 11 shooting. Outside of that, nobody shot very well on this team. My favorite play in this game spread is the under. Their defense is going to be there again. I don't think they're getting to 133 again. Damn sure don't think they're hitting 18 threes. Give me the under here. I think they inflated the number where it should be. It was way off yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And I like We the People's call on Barnes 15 plus and win because Siakam's been playing so bad. It's going to be Barnes or bust here or maybe Gary Trent unless Van
Anunoby's rolled in.
Yeah.
Van Fleet I wouldn't worry about as much.
Yeah, but
I mean, I guess because he's going to take
even
usage,
still though,
but
Barnes is a lankier guy. All the Brooklyn guys are pretty small at this point, especially if Drummond's off the floor too. Like he should be able to feast again. So the 15 plus and win, I like that. And even playing his double and win, I like that also. But my favorite play is going to be the under. Give me the under 218 in this one.
One more thing, Tyler, just because we're talking about the Nets. So everyone's going, why are they still favored? Why are they still favored? Well, they're actually their winning percentage is .667 with Durant, and that'd be good for first in the Eastern Conference right now. So it's kind of hard watching this patchwork roster, but you can see why people still have high hopes for the Nets. Travis, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so we could start DFS wise. I hate these spots where it's like we had the game before, the night before, and like you get overreaction, underreaction. Like I wish I never had them in my life, but we got to figure it out, right? And I do like that the situation is going to be a little bit different, at least. Like kind of like how Drummond's questionable, Cam Thomas is questionable. And like, man, if Drummond doesn't play, that's a lot of rebounds to go around. And like, I've gone back and forth on like what to do with Bruce Brown because I think it's a good spot for a Bruce Brown, but he's getting up there in price. He's someone that I've played a little bit in DFS, and he's been a good play. But on that second night of back-to-back, I do think he's one of those guys that, like, if they do get blown out or if the game gets ugly, and these guys have pride, maybe the Nets battle a little bit more, Bruce Brown will be a part of it, right? If Andre Drummond's not there, Bruce Brown at 5'4", he can drop 50 fantasy points. He has done 50 fantasy points over the last 2 weeks. He did it one of those games. I remember I had him. It was the Sacramento game. It was great. I'm pretty sure Drummond wasn't there. And it's one of those things where, like, it can happen, right? There's a ceiling there. And if he's going to be like 2% owned, it's a huge difference maker for you. And he's someone that I definitely like a lot. So I'm considering him. Seth Curry at 6.4K, another really good option that you can go to. But price is getting up there, like 6'4". He really can't dud for you. And maybe he needs that Andre Drummond pick and roll to help him out, right? Because maybe having that big man there to grab the rebounds too can help. I don't know if like the screen setting, I don't know if there's like some comfortability working with Drummond rather than some other guys. So that's definitely something to mention. LaMarcus Aldridge could see a decent amount of run where his usage also could be really nice. We're at 4.5K. That's not bad. Also, maybe you see Claxton get some run. It really depends on the starting lineup, which fading that early game might be valuable just so you can figure that out, right? You don't want to lock yourself in Isaiah Stewart and Gafford because you might want one of these net centers. But James Johnson is another guy, man. He has been just fouls after fouls. He's getting into foul trouble. It feels like every single game. I'm hopeful it doesn't happen again. But I think he's a really good producer and in a really good spot because when you take Andre Drummond out of there, James Johnson, that's going to help his rebound rate too a little bit. So I'm hoping Drummond sits. I think that'll give a lot of opportunity for some of these guys on the boards, especially guys like Johnson and Bruce Brown. Definitely two guys I'll look at. Patty Mills' price, the price is getting there at 4.6, but the problem is he can't shoot, and he's been terrible. It's back-to-back. Feels like a great
Remember when he started the year like making 7 of 7 on his 3-pointers in opening night? And we're like, oh, Patty Mills, what a pickup.
It's fatigue-based. I mean, it's just – could he be valuable in the playoffs and help do some meaningful run? Sure.
Yes,
I think he could, but it's like the dude needs a break. Like, I mean, man, it'd be nice if Patty Mills randomly just had like an elbow injury where he was out for like 3 weeks just to get some rest. Like,
well, he'll get plenty of rest once the big dogs come back and he's just standing in the corner again.
I guess, but yeah, I mean, I would want him to get a ton of rest. Again, I think he could have some value for them, but he's a guy I'm staying away from, even though the price looks right. Goran Dragic is the interesting one. So he's 4.1K. The word was conditioning was his problem. So 14 minutes, 17 minutes. So it's getting up there. We don't need to go to that value yet. I think we wait a couple more games to jump on him. I don't think we need to yet, especially with a back-to-back as well. Yes, of course, it's Goran Dragic revenge, and Goran Dragic revenge.
Isn't it more the Raptors revenge? I mean, Dragic didn't want to play on their team.
Yeah, I think the thing with him, and I know Cam Thomas might sit, but they're definitely going to ease him in for sure. Like, they're more willing to give David Duke a little bit more run instead, just because they don't want to. They know Dragic is part of maybe their like long-term plan. They want to help win a title this year. I mean, that's what I'm thinking when I say long-term. So they're going to ease him in slowly. I really think, from talking about it all, the guys that sound the best for me are, I think, James Johnson and Bruce Brown. I think those are two guys I'm definitely looking at a ton, and it just depends who's in and out. If that's going to matter, Aldridge could definitely be in play. If a Kessler Edwards started, like, yeah, he could certainly be in play at 3.5K as a value if he got enough run. Same with like a Day'Ron Sharpe if he was the starter. I think starters are going to be really key for them. On the Toronto side, again, Scotty Barnes. So yesterday he's 9% owned on DraftKings at 5.7. What is he going to be today? I assume he's going to have ownership, right? Like, I don't think people are like, you know how it is. People are just like, oh, well, Scotty Barnes got that at 6K. Imagine if he just gets like 32, which is just half of what he did. Like, people will just talk themselves into it. So if Scotty Barnes is chalk, I think it's a great idea to like maybe get off of him in this spot just because, like, I mean, are we sure it's going to happen again? I mean, yeah, is he going to burn you at 6.6 and go for 60, whatever he went for yesterday? Probably not. I would want to maybe attack a lower owned guy. So it just depends who's in and out. Like Fred VanVleet, if he's out, Gary Trent gets a really nice bump at 6.4. I understand people are frustrated with Pascal Siakam, and it seems like he hasn't been as great with VanVleet out of there, but the game blew out, right? Pascal was on pace to do okay for his price. And honestly, if you played Pascal, he was still on winning teams yesterday. And if you did play Pascal, there's a good chance you had some spend down guards in the slate, which is what you kind of needed to do. I had too many spend up guards. So that was the problem. So Pascal didn't burn you as much as you think yesterday because of just the center position didn't crush. Like he really didn't. He was on some teams that won GPP. So overall, I think the Raptors are a good spot to go back to. And I think some Brooklyn guys aren't bad, but we need the injury news of who's going to be in and who's going to be out. And then Thad Young at 3.7, I should mention him. He's not a bad option, but I think there's better plays. And Anobi's in, right? So that's going to muddy up some of the stuff there for the Raptors. Like,
he's Thad in Young for sure now?
What?
He just got announced in?
I don't know. I thought you said that. Was that correct? Or
no, he's questionable, but it's an upgrade. Because when I wrote about this game last night, and he was supposed to be out until like next week, and what I was reading from Raptors blogs last night.
And that injury news is going to affect Thad Young a lot, right? It's going to affect more of those like secondary guys. Like, I mean, you'll see everyone tilt, right? Spread like OG is in and Fred VanVleet's in and Pascal goes for 55 and people are like, he gets 30 yesterday with those guys out and today he goes for 55. Yeah. Like, seriously, like it's just something that you could see happen. And watching for quotes on Nick Nurse isn't bad. Like, I wonder if with Malachi Flynn playing better, like, I don't know, maybe he talks up playing some of these guys. He is kind of like Popovich though. And just kind of gives us some random stuff. But whoever's the starter is key, right? If someone's starting, that gives you the go on Nick Nurse. And that's going to be really key with this game, especially if guys are out.
All right, and you gave us a great DFS breakdown. Let me just throw you in Nick Nurse's shoes, right? You watched that game last night. You know that VanVleet's got a sore knee. We know that, the best case scenario for that is just rest. If you were Nick Nurse, Travis, would you sit Fred VanVleet tonight?
I mean, I think it's fine too against put Malachi Flynn back in there. He played great, right? I mean, I don't think
I agree with that. I'm on that page.
I don't think it's a bad idea to do, but like the problem is like guys like Fred like to play, right? Like they don't like to take off. So he's definitely fighting to try to play. That's like one of the other issues as well. But I think
I guess that's true. I didn't think about that.
It would be worth doing that. But yeah, we need that news. It's going to be important. And I don't got too much else to say there. This game's really important though. It's going to be one of the better DFS games, I think, today, you could argue. And also you could see fatigue on the other side. Like sometimes, let's say you fade this game, there's better spots you think on the slate. Like it wouldn't shock you if the Raptors went out and blew them out again, or even if like the Nets happen to go the other way. I mean, I know it sounds a little crazy, but like it's like sometimes you're on the second night of the back-to-back, you just miss shots, right? Like you're just a little more tired. But I definitely think with you guys like liking the Raptors side the most, and DFS-wise, you're gonna like both sides depending on the news.
All right, and our guy Gary says OG saw a hand specialist last night. He got good news, so that's why that switched and changed my handicap. The Los Angeles Clippers -6.5 heading to Houston to take on the Rockets. Rockets catching points at home with a total of 227.5. Tyler, you and I both like the Rockets young rookies, but we knew this was going to happen, right? We didn't think that they were going to be a very good team this year, and we thought that they would be adding some more high lottery draft talent in the draft this year, and that's kind of how it's played out. This team can score. This team can't defend. I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure they have one of the worst defensive ratings in the league. I had a stat memorized a couple days ago, and now it's probably changed. So regardless here, Clippers, man, tough team, right? They don't look very good, but they perform pretty well. I don't know if I want to lay 6.5 on the road with them, but I mean, how many times on this show have I underestimated the Clippers? What do you think there, Tyler?
I'm not going to go too in-depth with this game because there isn't much to talk about here. Ty Lue coach team against the young team. Mm-hmm. He probably gets the job done. I'm just going to go back to what I would have went to on Sunday when they played. Zubac double-double and win plus 220. He's going to be the biggest guy on the floor. Should fall into 10 rebounds. As long as he gets to 10 points, we should be good. I think they pick up the win. So that's my play in this game.
All right. Quick, efficient, easy. Richie Smalls helping me out because I always forget to remind everyone. Hit the like button, folks. Travis, what's your breakdown for this game?
Yeah, I'm blanking. Which game are we on? We're on the Timberwolves one?
Oh, no, we're on the Clippers. Yeah. Clippers University is not as fun this year, man.
Clippers U was a good time for us, but no more right now. Houston is definitely a team I like to target in DFS. And one problem is like the sites have adjusted for sure. Some of these Clippers price tags. Like you look on DK, so like Marcus Morris is 5'9", which like that seems like a pretty good value. Small forward, power forward eligibility. I don't mind that. Luke Kennard is 4'6". It's not 3.2K Luke Kennard like a couple weeks ago, which was a lot nicer. Zubac is 6'1", and like you can target Houston with big men. And 6'1" feels expensive, but you know what? It could not be enough. I mean, he's been getting a ton of paint touches lately. Like I think Zubac is a really interesting tournament play that I don't think people will be on because they'll see that uncomfortable price tag and they just won't want to go there. But I don't mind Zubac here in this spot. Seems like a lower owned guy that you could take a shot on this slate. I mean, like pull up some optimals right now. Daniel Gafford's in everything, right? Like everyone's going to be playing Daniel Gafford. It's a quick way to just be different by plugging in a Zubac in there to change up the way your construction is because you're paying 6.1K at center while everyone else is paying 3.6. So I like Zubac. I think he's a really interesting option here. Reggie Jackson 8-2. Like I'm sorry, I don't think I can do it even against Houston. I think there's other guys that it's just such a hefty tag. So, and there's volatility with Ty Lue, right? Ty Lue can always mess with rotations. And like when you're 8-2, you have to get your 4 rotations. Like you saw with Siakam yesterday. He's an expensive guy. And when he doesn't get that 4th rotation, that can be a problem. And yes, sometimes the reason it blows out is because of him and he absolutely crushed. But that's just a fear that you have to have when looking at this team. Terrence Mann is another one that like 6'2" feels uncomfortable, but the ceiling could be there. This is a better spot where I think if you do play like 2 LAC guys, I think you want a Houston guy ran back just because then you like think the game is going to be competitive and you need news. That's going to be really important too. And like, let's say that Kevin Porter Jr. is out, which I'm curious to see what happens with him. He is questionable. He got his haircut too. So the haircut narrative is lurking. The braids are gone. So KPJ is a guy that if he doesn't play, well, we're going to like some of these guys.
How do we usually adjust for haircuts in our projections?
Oh, so Jaylen, by the way, Glock notified me too. Okay. Jaylen Brown has braids in his hair now. So he's got the braids. I don't know, adjust your model accordingly, but Spread, when you get a haircut, you feel fresh, right? You feel good.
Okay.
So you're going to feel good tonight. So if we can get the KPJ fresh haircut narrative to come through and he plays, he could be a really interesting option because you're feeling fresh. So I always gotta give him a small bump for the haircut, but you're not forcing him in your lineups for sure.
Got it. Great breakdown.
You know the reasons behind the haircut, right?
What's the reason?
He started dating that one hot WNBA player out of WVU.
So that's we got more coming in.
I guess she put the foot down because she put a tweet out last night with the scissors and like a smiley face, and then the next day he puts up a picture with a haircut.
So Tyler, it's not just the fresh haircut. As we say at Run Beer, it's the workbench. She's happy. I mean, there's a lot of, we might have to bump it up.
But the only thing that gives them tired legs to where their jumpers are coming up short, like, you know, too much work off the court.
No, Tyler, if it's a good enough lady, she's doing the work, right? You don't have to do as much work. So, guess we'll have to find out. But I do think that the KPJ narrative I'm in on, I think it's a good call. But if he doesn't play right, value opens up. Like Dennis Schroeder at 5'9" could obviously start. We've seen him start in spots. Eric Gordon at 4'6" could easily come up out of nowhere for the old revenge narrative. It's an Eric Gordon revenge game against the Clippers. We're bringing them all out tonight. So I think there's opportunity here for Houston. If you play some Clippers, I don't mind looking for a run back, especially if some of these guys are out. I think that's really important. This is not a game I'm jamming. I felt like I talked about it for a while. It's not a game I'm jamming in by any means, but I definitely think it's like a good way to like win a GVP with like a small, like little mini stack of it, because these prices aren't bad. You're getting all these guys for pretty cheap tags. And like when the Rockets compete in a game, you get that full rotation from your guys, which I think is really important. And you might get that from the Clippers too. And it just interacts and it just all works out really well. And I've had success stacking up those Houston games. So I want to kind of consider it a little bit on this slate.
All right. And Travis, always a big proponent of the player empowerment system, because player movement means more revenge opportunities. Let's move on to the next one. The Golden State Warriors. Dang, this line is moving. It's -3 now. That must have been off the Anthony Edwards move. They were dogs last night. This opened at +1.5 for the Warriors. That's a 4.5 point move. Total of 231.5. They're in Minnesota taking on the Timberwolves. Timberwolves coming off a game last night. I think it was 127-122 over Cleveland Cavaliers. Regardless, it was a win. I do know that. And the Warriors, of course, coming off that loss. And I think that was on national TV. I have League Pass. I have them all. But I think, you know, as a nationally televised loss to Dallas, they're up by 21 points in the third. They end up losing by 6. My idea here is that this is a great time to take the Warriors. You know, coming off a loss where they might have got a little cute, might have got a little complacent. Maybe we're feeling themselves a little bit, right? Especially with Curry coming off the All-Star performance. Definitely expect them to hashtag lock in tonight and get the victory. But so does the market, man. This line has moved a lot since this morning. Tyler, what are your thoughts?
Right back to the well from last night's spread. We're against each other. Give me Minnesota in this spot.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean,
all right, let me hear why.
I don't think this is the spot where they lock in and get a W, because they're 2-5 straight up in their last 7 and 1-6 against the spread in that same stretch. This team's in a slump spread. Steph Curry looked good in the All-Star game until the fourth quarter when the defense turned on, and then he couldn't make a shot. So it's like, I got to back Minnesota here. And you look at their wins in February for Golden State. They beat the Spurs, Sacramento, OKC, the Lakers, and Portland. That was it. They lost everyone else. They're not playing good basketball right now. It's a revenge spot for both D'Angelo Russell and Andrew Wiggins in this spot, so you can play that whichever route you want. But you look at the stats, centers against Golden State averaged 27 points and 18 rebounds in the last 30 days, and shooting guards averaged 24 points, 4 threes versus Golden State. If Ant Edwards is out, that usage just goes to Malik Beasley and Russell. And we all know Cat's going to eat this front court up. So give me Cat double-double and win. Minnesota's money line. Cat 3+ threes and win. Russell 4+ threes and win. And still waiting to bet Ant to see if he's in.
All right, Travis, we're against each other again. Last night it didn't go for me. Do you think it'll be my revenge night, or do you think Tyler's got the right call in this game?
Yeah, man. So I gotta break the tie, and I'm on Tyler's side. I'm on the T-Wolves. I also hate to be on the T-Wolves. Like, it's like they have been a little hurtful lately. But I do think that this is a good spot for them. Obviously, we got some guys sitting, which is important. You got Klay Thompson not going to be in there. The news on Bielitsa, that could matter a little bit for some of these fringe guys in the Warriors, but it's not the greatest spot to be playing these guys. So, like, I don't think you want to play them in DFS. I think the guys that you want to look at are the Timberwolves mainly. And, like, I do think one reason not to, like, bet this game is, like, I do think that Vanderbilt and Edwards news is kind of important. Vanderbilt has been really helpful for them defensively. And, like, You can argue that having Vanderbilt will be very valuable. So I do think that I want to know who's in and out before I kind of make the bet personally. But if I had to pick a side, I would pick the Timberwolves side. Cat at 10-1, he's definitely a contrarian spend up, but do I really want to go Cat? I just don't know. I need the news. If Ant is out, that's going to help Cat and D-Russ for sure. It'll give them nice little bumps. It'll give Pat Beverly at 5K a nice little bump. You know they're going to need him in there a lot more because that's missing a guard. It's not just missing him. Like, it's missing a defensive guard, which Ant can play pretty good defense. And, like, having Beverly in there for defensive reasons could be really valuable. And he could get more minutes. Like, he's a perfect guy to chase around Curry all night. So I do think that Pat Beverly is one of the better values. I think Vanderbilt at 4-5, if he happens to play and Ant sits, well, that could be a value that opens up. That's a pretty good play. And let's say Vanderbilt and Ant don't play. Well, they might need McDaniels a little bit more at 4K to play some defense. You might get Naz Reid, who might get a small little bump as well. So there are some opportunities here DFS-wise. You kind of need the news. But, man, one of the guys that gets the biggest bump, I think, is D-Russ. Like, D-Russ is someone that he won't be in any projection systems, really, or being pumped on the teams at this current time. Now, it could be 650 and you still don't have the news and he's not being pumped into projections and he's low owned. And then boom, guys lock into people. You lock into a KCP. Well, when you lock into KCP at 60% at the shooting guard position, you can't plug D-Russ in at the shooting guard position anymore, right? And then, yes, you can make Derrick. Well, I can put him at point guard and I can put him at guard. Well, what if Fred VanVleet misses? Now Malachi Flynn goes in the point guard spot. We start running out of spots to put your guys in where naturally D-Russ might have lower ownership. At 7-6, that's a guy I'm trying to plan a little bit for, at least with some of my teams. So I really like D'Angelo Russell. Definitely going to play him if you have Ant Edwards out. I'm going to look at Patrick Beverly. Definitely another good option. And then Cat, if you happen to have the money and it works out, he could be a really contrarian spend up, especially if this game, and this is something that's like, this is like really getting deep into the Galaxy brain a little bit, but like as you're building your teams, 8 o'clock, right? Let's say Daniel Gafford. Let's say he starts out, he's 60% owned. And let's say he has 2 fantasy points, right? The chat is tilting. Let's say he hurts himself. It can happen. Well, now you know if you play Daniel Gafford, right? If you played him at the center spot and he's got 2 fantasy points and he hurt himself, if you spend up for Cat, man, like you have a completely different build than all those other teams that were terrible. And it just gives you a different instruction. And all you have to do is do one spend and eat all this great chalk the rest of the way. Because if the great chalk does well, it doesn't matter because Gafford's going to get killed. So that's something to think about too, and that I've considered as I watch games. Now, I don't consider it too much because I don't want to tilt something too hard. I don't want to be like, hey, this guy's done bad, and then the next half he goes off, because that certainly can happen at times. But when ejections happen and stuff like that, and you know something's locked in, that's like a super unique thing that you can do. I know it's like a super deep thing to talk about, but it's something that I do consider sometimes when I happen to see it as I'm sitting at the computer making adjustments to my team. So I do need the news on that. And then one more counterpoint, if Ant plays 7-4, he can win you a GVP. He's been very, very frustrating, but he will have no ownership. So if you're looking way to catch up or just want a virtually unowned guy that has a ceiling of 50 to 60 fantasy points and is there at 7.4K. I'm not playing any Warriors. I haven't talked about them too much. I just said kind of those fringe guys, but I'm still not playing Curry. I don't think he's a better FanDuel play than DK. 10-8 is just too much for me. I'd rather play Trae Young or someone else, any other spend up. I just don't ever play Curry right now. He's just too volatile for me. I know there's no Klay Thompson. And then Wiggins at 6'2". Isn't terrible, but not someone I'm jamming on my teams. This is definitely a game that I need the injury news. I'm looking at the Minnesota side most importantly. I'm looking to fade Warriors for the most part and maybe play some Minnesota Timberwolves if these guys are out. If they're in, I'm not as excited to play Timberwolves. It might be more of a fade for me.
All right. And I love this one from We the People. He thinks that Karl Anthony Towns makes more threes than Steph tonight. If that's the case, man, Tyler might be running another victory lap around Sacramento again tomorrow. The Dallas Mavericks, this line's out to -5. It moved to 5.5, opened at 4.5, moved all the way to 5.5, settled in at 5. I think this seems about right for what the market will bear. I mean, you can't just fade the Lakers too hard, as bad as they've been. But boy, this team is terrible, and this will probably be my favorite segment of the show because as bad as I did picking against Tyler yesterday, I wasn't as bad as the Lakers have been since the All-Star break. Boy, they're fighting with their own fans now, right? Like Jeannie Buss is just leaving. Like, I mean, it is just terrible. It's a terrible look for everybody involved, man. If you're on the bench in the NBA game, man, and some guy like me is heckling you, you got to leave me alone, man. You're a millionaire. Who am I? Like, you know, like hold your position there. So, boy, times are tough there in Los Angeles, but sometimes, things are darkest before the dawn or whatever motivational phrase that I'm sure LeBron's going to read to the team. It'll have to be on the first page of the book. Never seen him get to chapter 3 or 4. But he'll probably get something going for these guys tonight. Tyler, though, I'm going to just continue to fade the Lakers. And, some nights, we'll see the old LeBron and, the team will come together and I'll lose. But I think for the most part, if I just fade the Lakers every single game for the rest of the year, I'm going to be up. What are your thoughts?
Does it worry you at all that Luka's birthday was yesterday and they've been in Cali since Saturday? Probably partied all night.
I didn't know about the birthday fade. That's a great angle in tennis. It's a great angle in tennis.
I've been scouring Twitter trying to see if there's any videos of him this morning, just to see what he looks like. See if he looks all messed up. If he was out partying hard last night. He's one of those guys like, would it surprise you if he steps out there and it's like, wow, this isn't the Luka we're used to seeing. He's just like half drunk out there.
He's also young enough to where do you even have a hangover when you're 22 or whatever he is?
He just turned 23. I mean, you could still have one. Depending on how much they drink.
It's not like mine now after 3 drinks, I'll tell you that much.
For the most part, if I'm going to bet this game spread, I'm going to bet it live because I need to see what those guys look like first. Mm-hmm. And on the other side, it's like they've drugged the Lakers through the mud for the past 2 weeks. Same thing with LeBron.
Oh, I've been loving it, man.
It's my favorite part. They're going to have that one game where they just punch somebody in the mouth. Yeah. This line seems short. This might be it right here. So I'm staying away from this game.
Well, it's funny that you talked about betting it live because that's the perfect segue for me to remind everyone that Tyler and I will be on the Sports Keg live show tonight, and we'll at least be watching at the beginning of that game. So we'll be able to kind of analyze and find out Luka's status, how much he's drank. Like I said, Tyler, if you and I go in and have 3 or 4 more drinks tomorrow night, I think that you're going to wake up and be a lot better the next day than I am. So let's see if Luka has that going for him. What do you think, Travis? I actually did not factor in the birthday, and the birthday fade is awesome in tennis. Interesting to see how it works out tonight. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I definitely am factoring the birthday thing. At least it's in the back of my mind. But I mean, should I care about it that much? Probably not. It depends on construction of the slate, right? So at the end of the day, Luka's 12K. And here's one of the things. So he's 12K and sometimes raw points matter, right? Just you need to grab raw points. And if it's a slate like yesterday where you just where Giannis was 12K and it felt like a lot, and it felt like a lot of these 8 and 9K guys are really good options. But if all these value plays crush, if we get more value throughout the day, well, as we gain more value, Luka becomes more valuable to your lineup. So he's clearly the best fantasy option on the entire slate. I'm more so treating Luka as a raw points guy on this slate for me. It's not someone I'm jamming into my lineups. If I get exposure, if my build leans to that, sure, I'd have some interest. As I currently look at stuff when I did my first run, Luka's on a lot of teams. And it's because I think overall, some of these 9K guys, they're solid options, but they're not guys just jam in right now. Some of these Raptors will become guys that you kind of jam into your lineups if you get all of them out, like Vogt and Fred VanVleet out. Well, yeah, then you're going to get more exposure to these guys. Also, if Drummond sits, if Cam Thomas sits, well, there's more value plays open. When more value plays open up, Luka becomes more valuable. So Luka's definitely someone I'm going to consider playing on this slate. I'm not going on a way to not play him, but I'm also not going on a way to just throw him in all my lineups. He's getting a lot of ownership too. And at that ownership, if he's going to be one of the highest owned guys in the slate, which it's certainly possible, you can make a case to maybe fading him and going more of the mid-tier route. So I don't think it's bad to consider. It's definitely something to look at on this slate. Luka's definitely going to be right now I think I see the second highest owned guy on the slate. So just depends on I think it depends more on your lineup construction and what you want to do. I think that's really going to be pivotal for him. Besides that, I'm not really looking to play any of these other Mavericks. The big talking point is, what do you do with LeBron? So let's say LeBron sits. Well, if LeBron sits, you feel like an idiot not playing Westbrook, but 8-3 is expensive. FanDuel is 6-6. Even if LeBron played and Russell Westbrook 6-6 on FanDuel, I know it's painful. It hasn't been fun, but if you told me there was no LeBron, I'm not saying there is. At 6-6, he would be like a stone lock. But even if LeBron plays, Westbrook is still a good play at 6-6 on FanDuel. He's not the worst play in the world. So definitely think he's in play. Depends on how some of the news shakes out. But yeah, I think that's something you got to talk about. Of course, if LeBron happened to sit, Carmelo Anthony would clearly be in play. If they go to that lineup where LeBron plays at the 5, which please, we got rid of DeAndre Jordan, go to LeBron at the 5 and then have Dwight come off the bench and play that time at the 5 and for the bench and then close it out with that. Please, please, please do that. That would just make me so happy. And if we do that, you're going to see Carmelo Anthony at the 4 and get more spacing. And that's pretty good for him. Price tag is 4.8K. He could definitely get the job done there against Dallas. Then you got Malik Monk. Malik Monk is 4.6. If you get LeBron at the 5, Malik Monk at 4.6 is a good option. The only issue that you have here is if you decide to play these guys DFS-wise, you don't really have pivots if it doesn't work out in your favor. If you don't get the LeBron at the 5, let's say you get the Dwight Howard in there, like, it's just not as great. I mean, that's the one thing to worry about for sure. And then if you are struggling for value, which again, this value is not great today, Dwight Howard is 4.3. I mean, you could talk yourself into it. Last 2 games, he had 22, 26 minutes, 44.5 and 21.75 fantasy points. If you told me Dwight got 20 minutes, he could certainly get the job done as a value at 4.3K. So there's definitely options to consider on the Lakers side, depending on what they go with. I'm praying they go with LeBron at the 5 because that could really open things up and make it really interesting. And that could make LeBron an even better contrarian option. Let's say you have Luka in your lineups and you feel like you're behind, pivot over to LeBron, even if he's in and you think you're just in trouble, because it seems like Luka is going to be one of the higher owned studs on this slate.
Travis, and I appreciate the breakdown, and everybody in the chat does as well, right? Because you're helping them win money. But can you just humor me and talk about how bad the Lakers are as a team real quick? I mean, just for a minute or two. It's my favorite part of the show.
Yeah, I mean, Spread, as someone who is a Kings fan, I'm a Mets fan. I understand. I love making fun of the Yankees, so I can respect it. The Lakers don't look good, man. It is rough. If I was LeBron, I guess it's tough to like kind of back down a little bit, but I would just want like to hopefully somehow not make the playing game and just like just take this year off. The next year, battle through. Year after that, play with Bronny and then ride off into the sunset. I think that's how the best case scenario for him, if he could. But yeah, it's rough there. I mean, the Westbrook thing, I was one that, listen, you got to take L's. I thought the Westbrook thing could work because I thought he could carry in the regular season enough to like help AD and LeBron sit. And man, like, I didn't know that like they could have got DeMar DeRozan and they could have kept Caruso. Like, I didn't know that like they could have got DeRozan cheaper and maybe kept some guys. So like, man, that was like pretty painful what happened there. So agree with you, Spread. Have you changed your opinion on some of the Kings stuff? I sort of agree with you that like, man, the Halliburton contract was too good. Like, what were you doing? But like Sabonis has been okay for now, but it's going to be, this is what's going to happen. I was thinking about it yesterday. It's going to be the Kings are going to be like a middle of the road, like bottom barrel team. And like nothing's going to happen. And we're going to be talking about this 3, 4, 5 years from now. Nothing's changed, typical Kings. So I do feel like you guys did lose out in that trade. I thought it could be a little bit better, but so far it hasn't been too bad. At least if we're, you beat OKC last night. We probably shouldn't be celebrating that, but it's getting better.
I just got back from the parade, Travis. What are you talking about?
Well, you know what made me realize how, like, not that this made me realize how bad the trade was, because I was optimistic, right? I feel like I was optimistic. Like, I like Fox, and I'm hoping it can work out. When you watch that first Nuggets game of the Kings going back and forth, and you see Fox and Sabonis dominating in the pick and roll and pick and pop all night long, and they're down by 10. Like, yes, it was close early on, and then they're just down by 10 and could never catch back up. Like, it's just they were giving him empty buckets. And that was my fear with Sabonis, is like he's just an empty bucket, it feels like. Like, not that he's Andre Drummond, right? But like, man, like, I don't know, does Sabonis ever like play on like a team that's like actually like good and like contends? That's like one of my biggest fears with him.
Yeah, I mean, my issue too is like the team could already score. And the guy you added, now we have another star that's really not that good on the defensive end, and I think it's just tough to win. And I know we the people is going to tell me the defense doesn't matter in the new NBA, but I'm old. I still think Miami Heat teams and the Bucks, right? The teams that can get the stops, they're the ones that end up getting there at the end.
It definitely matters in the playoffs for sure. So I guess they couldn't have dealt that Fox contract. That's the only reason I think
that was the thing. I came down. I start, and we talked about it on the show before, so I won't do too long. But I went through the whole teams, and I'm like, who actually wants Fox? Most teams are actually pretty good at point guard. There's not a team that you look at and you go, oh, I would give up a bunch of assets for this point guard because he puts us over the top. I mean, point guard is stacked right now.
The Knicks for like a Randall, but did you really want a Randall?
We don't want Randall. I'd rather have Sabonis than Randall. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. It's a tough
Same
thing.
Deal.
I'd take Sabonis over Randall.
I mean, same thing. I mean, they both can score. They can pass. They're going to grab boards, and they can't defend. Kind of the same guy. At least Sabonis has like a cool dad. I mean, I don't know.
I like that they grabbed I think DiVincenzo, though, he might ask for too much. I like how they grabbed DiVincenzo, and like Lamb hasn't been too bad for them. Like, it's definitely been interesting. I mean, I'm kind of just like pulling for you. I'm hoping it could somehow work out. I'm trying to be optimistic, but maybe it's not going to work.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But I do always appreciate the chat coming with the knowledge. And Tyler, right? And maybe I'll end up be able to get one over on you here. Bobski, 23-23. Pretty sure he's a Jordan fan, but maybe he just liked the first iteration of LeBron. Luka had a pretty big game last year after his birthday, for what it's worth. So let's see if
That's
the
a good thing
hangovers
to hear because I
into
mean,
effect.
just looking through Twitter, I haven't found much of anything saying it's just a bunch of people congratulating him for his birthday and this and that.
Yeah.
But
So yeah, hopefully he just got one nice young woman.
let me find a
Yeah.
video on like one of his friends' Instagram stories of them in the club last night with a bunch of bottles around.
And you're in Los Angeles too.
And
I
then
mean,
then
fortunately, it
there's
is
I just
Tuesday
have to
night
stay
in
away
Los
from it.
Angeles, but all right. Well, yeah, we'll see. We the People says the triple double is
It
incoming. But
easily could be incoming. But it's one of the things I gotta double check some stuff before I click that button.
I mean, Travis, you talk about chucking. I mean, the guy's averaging like what, over 30 shots per game since Porzingis is traded. You got to like that from a DFS perspective, right? I mean, you want your guys to chuck. He's taking care of it for you, huh?
It's been nice, and also the Lakers is a good matchup for that, right? And you also think like after they got like as embarrassed as they did, like you don't expect them to get this like embarrassed again this bad, right? Like
Right.
you expect to be a little more competitive now, betting wise. Like, and I know I've been talking more DFS, but like, what's the spread on that game? Lakers
+5.
I still couldn't even bite the bullet on that one with the Lakers, and I feel like they've been like an overvalued team all year, and I don't know how much it's adjusted, but. Yeah, I mean that's just a stay away from me. I mean, I know my best bet. It's not this one, so I mean we can give that out, and then we got the DFS show coming up in 15 minutes, which I can't wait to get on and break it all down with title and hoop.
Yeah, and remember on that show, right? Travis will hold you guys hostages for likes, but not here. We're going to give you the best bets regardless. But hey, show Travis, right? We don't need to be mean spirited, right? We can just ask nicely and get it. So why don't you guys go ahead, give us a like on the video right now, and we'll move on to the best bets. Tyler, let's start with you. I have a guess that we're going to be opposite again here tonight, so hopefully this will be my revenge, or maybe it'll just be. Tyler week. We'll call it Tyler Town, not Title Town. What's your best bet of the day?
My best bet is going to be the under in the Toronto game.
Okay.
And then as for a prop, give me Marcus Smart's over 5.5 on his assists.
Okay. I like that. All right. So you like the under on the Toronto game, just so people have the number that are you seeing a 218? That's what I have.
Yep. I got a flat 218.
Under 218, I have that as well, and it's a little bit juiced. It looks like people are betting over there, Tyler. So I got some great value there. Travis, what's your best bet for the day? Side, total, or prop?
Yeah, let's go with we're gonna go with game, and let's go with the Celtics. I'll take them 6.5. I've been running them out a bunch, so let's keep rolling there with that. Think that they're a good bet today, and also there's a lot of injury news, right? So don't feel like you have to make the bet right away. If you think you could waiting could help your value, certainly do that, unless you really want the number that you see right now. So I think that's kind of important today, but no, don't have to worry about injury news too much here in the Celtics game. So I'll say Celtics 6.5 against the Hawks.
All right, and I'm going to keep this rivalry going, Tyler. You know, Vince McMahon's going to love it, right? You can't end the feud this early. We're just starting to get hot. I'm going to take the Golden State Warriors against the pick of Tyler. Tyler likes the Timberwolves there, but I do like the Golden State Warriors to get it done, bounce back. Tyler's made some great points, so we'll see who is right. And if you want to watch us kind of bragging and rubbing it in live, we'll be on the live show tonight watching that one, Tyler. So, if I'm wrong here, there will be no escape. I'm going to have to face the music right away. I won't be able like yesterday where I got to get a good night's sleep and, do a little grooming before I had to face the music. I'm going to have to face it live. So that is going to be a lot of fun. So if you haven't checked out that package, please do. Remember, it's over at rumpuresports.com. Use that promo code, get bets. Tyler, no baseball yet, but that doesn't mean that we can't go for a home run. Did you work up a parlay for us?
I did. We're going to go with Mangone's boy Jason Tatum, 30-plus points in Boston wins because he put up 38 on him the last time in this matchup.
Mm-hmm.
That's plus 225. The second leg, we're going to go Zubac double-double and win. They only beat him by 1 on Sunday. I think they can open up a bigger win here. And he had a double-double in that game, so I think he repeats. We're going to trust the chat on this last one spread. Luka triple-double and Dallas wins.
Woohoo!
Well, he had, just like Robert said, 33, 10, and 9 on March 1st. Mm-hmm. We the people saying triple-double incoming, we'll plug it in there. That gets us 48-1.
I love it. All right. Travis, you want to let everyone know all the great content that Run Pure Sports is providing this week?
Yeah. One last thing. I was just looking at bet real quick. So just want to see what the line is on it. Okay.
A bonus bet? People love that.
I was thinking some Zubac overs could be interesting. I do think it's a really good spot.
I do have one other parlay. I did click that button on that Horford one. I did under 9.5 points, under 5.5 rebounds, under 2.5 assists. That gets you 7-1.
Oh, that's not bad. 7-1.
There you go. What do you think of a Zubac over, Tyler, on 12.5 plus 100?
Yeah, I like that. There was one I wanted to touch on earlier. It was the first game we talked about. You talked about Kelly Olynyk. His points props 9.5 at even money.
I don't think Bagley plays, so if you want to get that now, I'm not against that.
I think it's one of those ones you get now.
Oh yeah, I like that a lot actually. That's a good one. I might do. Maybe I'll see when I get off here. Maybe I'll do like I'll do a Kelly O, and I'll even do I'll parlay with the Zubac. We'll have to see the double bigs. Yeah. So DFS wise, we got the show coming up next week. We have a new schedule, kind of like new cast of characters. Big T, I think, is on tomorrow. Today it's your typical Monday crew, but now on Tuesday you got me, you got Title, and Hoop. We'll be breaking down that slate, so that should be a fun time. Can't wait to talk about it with them. He'll be hosting it up. You got the Final Countdown show, which that will be with Holden, JSU, Big T, and Glock, and then 8:30 tonight you got Snyder, AEP, and Hoop. They're talking golf, and then tomorrow you'll see me talking some golf at 7 o'clock here on this YouTube channel. So subscribe to this channel to get that with Snyder, Uncle T. A bunch of people will be there. JJ as well. Always having a good time with him. Lots of laughs. And then we got the premium golf show tomorrow on the Run Pure Sports channel on the premium side. So tons of stuff going on over here at Run Pure. We got weekend shows too. We have free ones on the Run Pure Sports channel for the golf, for the showdown. Check those out. The round 4 one will be premium. We got NASCAR shows. We got it all. So go subscribe now. And of course, the thumbs up always helps us out. We always appreciate that.
Yeah. And Travis reminded me, I'll say it one more time. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and